let's see, which one do you like better, this one or this one? Got to be a little careful, there's hooks in here. They're actually fly lures. Did you know that we have a fly fishing store here in the lakes area in Perham? Welcome to I Didn't Know That, a show about things I didn't know. I did not know there was a fly fishing store here in Perham. And we're here with Doug Harthen, Front 20 Outfitters. Doug, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
These are beautiful. Did you make these?
That one I made. That one comes from Umpqua.
Awesome. Well, they're beautiful. I'm going to put this one back here where I got it. Fly fishing, okay? I remember my grandpa fly fishing a long time ago, and it looked different and odd to me as a little kid. Why fly fishing?
I think that's different for everybody, but some people like the challenge of it. Some people like the pace of it. One thing about fly fishing, even if you're not catching fish, you're doing something. Because you have to cast.
Now explain what fly fishing is. It's not your traditional pole with a bait caster or a reel.
Well, the biggest difference between spin casting or bait casting and fly fishing is fly fishing you're casting the line. The line is weighted and you're casting the line and it's taking the fly with it. Whereas with a bait caster or spin caster, you tie on the lure and you cast it out there and the lure takes the line with it. So that's probably the biggest difference. So you need the fly line in order to deliver the fly.
Do you have a one that we can look at?
Well, we have.
Show an example here.
Here's the fly line, and it's probably hard to see on the camera, but it's heavier, it's thicker, and it's weighted. Now, different fly lines will have different weights depending on the rod you're using and what you want to cast. If you're casting heavy flies like you have in your hand, or teeny tiny flies.
Oh God, they are small.
You know, like this, and this is actually a pretty good sized one. They're even a lot smaller than this. So, you know, that'll vary how much weight your fly line and where that weight's going to be. So anyway. So the line has to be weighted in order to cast the fly. It's usually tapered. Your leader is a tapered leader. In other words, it's thick at the butt section here, and it tapers down to a thinner section.
And then you would tie the lure onto here. You don't tie it onto your...
No, you tie it on the end.
Okay.
So when you buy a leader, it'll say 3X 9 pound. So that means that's what it is at the end that you tie the fly on. Not at the other end. I learned that the hard way when I first started 20 years ago.
And it's a much different technique than your casting is a much different technique. I remember my grandpa was like,
well, you have to get the line going.
Yes.
Okay, and so you know, the tighter the loop, you know, the more aerodynamic it's going to be, and the further you're going to be able to cast. So, you know, the better you are at it, the further you're going to be able to cast, more accurate you'll be, and so forth. So it's not something most of us anyway, we didn't, and most people just don't buy a fly rod and they're proficient at it by noon. It takes a little practice.
Like I tell my kids, how do you get better at something? You have to practice.
Yeah. So it takes work like everything else. So.
Sure. And then what kind of fish do you fish for? Can you
fish
any kind?
For everything that everybody else fishes for.
I'm guessing this isn't a perch lure.
No, that's, sold as a musky lure. It'll work for pike. You'll even catch big bass on it sometimes, certain times of the year.
And then, so on this reel, are you reeling in the fish if you catch a fish? How does that work?
Well, normally for what we do, warm water fishing, mostly warm water fishing in the summer, we'll strip the line in.
Meaning?
Means we'll just put it under our finger when we cast it out there, and we'll be stripping it in. So,
I imagine that's quite intense if you've got a muskie on there and you're pulling in line.
Yeah.
I imagine it'd be fun, actually.
But sometimes you break a rod, but, usually we're using a lot heavier leaders and line for what we do. With trout, you tend to use the reel more, but you're using 6X, 7X leaders, which is like 2, 3, 4 pound leaders. So they break pretty easy. So you use the reel more often. For one thing, to keep the line out of the way, and
can
two,
we
for the drag
walk
system.
over here? So just
Yeah.
here we've got you were telling me that there's different.
Yeah,
Is
so
it
there's,
poundage of pole
it's
or
weight? It's a
Okay.
weight. So you have to match the weight of the fly rod or the weight of the line to the weight of the rod. So like some of these are 4-weight rods, and they go all the way up to 11-weight rods.
So you're not going to fish for a muskie on a 4-weight.
No,
Got it.
you would never be able to throw that fly on a 4-weight. It would hit you in the head.
And here's another question: can I stand in a boat and fly fish?
yeah, we do
or
all the
do I have to
time.
stand in a river?
No. You can do both. And standing in a river is nice. I mean, it's peaceful. It's usually you're by yourself. But we fish out of the boat 90% of the time.
Okay.
So we have a drift boat like you see out west where the person in the middle rows and the 2 people on each end cast. So we have one of those that we use. We have a raft that's set up the same way, someone on each end and the rower in the middle. So the raft we use where we don't have access, we can drag it in through the ditch.
Mm-hmm.
And we also have a big Lund boat like everybody else in Otter Tail County that we use on the lakes and stuff. So yeah, and we fly fish out of all those.
Super. And then if we can walk over here a little bit, you have stuff to make your own lure.
You know, probably 65% of the stuff in the store here or shop is fly tying material. And you can see there's all kinds of it. Feathers, hackle, chenilles, all kinds of different flashes, different heads, popper bodies, and bucktails are big. And we get people in here that don't fly fish, but they tie a lot of their own jigs and lures. And they come in and get bucktail and flash.
And you were saying that you've been here for 12 years?
It'll be 12 years in May.
Wow.
So
You have a lot of stuff here, and
yeah,
if anyone wants to try fly fishing, you offer some classes too, right?
we do workshops in the summer, 5 or 6 of them. There's a couple that are just ladies only, and then there's 3 or 4 that are co-ed for whoever wants to come. So
Awesome. And they're great, like fidget. Here, I've been playing with this the whole time. It's calming. Well, I appreciate you being on the show, and it is very fascinating. It's kind of like its own little world here with the fly fishing stuff.
it's different.
Yeah, I grew up in the traditional fishing world, and this does sound like something that you would. It's like like you're saying, a craft. You know,
Well, some people that don't like regular fishing kind of gravitate towards this because you're doing something all the time. You know, there's no just standing there. You're either casting or bringing line in, and it's a busy thing.
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
so-
Well, super. Thanks for joining us on the show, and make sure you stop by the Front 20 Outfitters in Perham and do some fly fishing.